Hi, everyone, and welcome to the third panel discussion that's part of this first year of the College Improv Conference. We had two great panel discussions yesterday, and we expect to have three more great conversations today. You're currently here to see the precarious act of balancing improv with sketch, which will be an exploration of improvisers' interest both in improv, but also in sketch comedy and how to manage that. Later today, we're going to have a wonderful panel discussion at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, moderated by Molly Thomas, focusing on rehearsing for your improv comedy shows. And at 8 p.m. tonight, we have Beth Appel moderating a conversation about show formats and tall tales related to past college improv comedy shows. That one's going to be great. I encourage all of you to attend that one, especially since we have the lowest signups for that one. It would be great to give all those people your eyes and your ears tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to make a reservation, but know also we're using the same link for all of these panel discussions. So you can simply hold on to the link you used today to get into the session, and you'll be able to get there at the right time easily. Without further ado, I'm going to toss this conversation over to our moderator, the wonderful founder of Dojo Improv Comedy or Dojo Comedy in Washington, D.C., Murph McHugh. But I did the same thing I did yesterday. I forgot to give him the ability to unmute himself. I'm so sorry, everyone. Let me unmute, allow him to unmute himself and also turn his video on. And now he should be, now, without further ado, the wonderful founder of Dojo Comedy, Murph McHugh.
Oh, I came out with a lot of energy before. No, it's good to see everybody. What a treat it is to be moderating this panel on improv and sketch. I love them both, and I can't wait to get this discussion going. Why don't we get our talking folks out and let you meet them wherever you are. Give a big round of applause for our panelists.
Hey-o.
All right. Well, I won't pretend that we weren't chatting it up before this, or that we weren't maybe playing an improv game or two. But I want you all to get to know this wonderful group. So why don't we go around, and I'm going to ask you all to introduce yourself, maybe say what school you're from, and a little bit of your personal background with comedy stuff. We'll talk about your team's background in a sec, but just a little bit about yourself so we can all get to know you.
Who do you want to start with?
You know, I'm wide open.
Okay, I'd be happy to go.
Take it away.
All right, well, I'm Cosmas. I'm in Ball State University. I'm a co-president of ABSO. Right now, it's my third year doing improv, and I found the team because like random one day, I was just walking by like one of the student booths, and Ivy was standing right there saying, "Do you like improv?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then I tried it out, loved it, and now here I am. So I've been doing it for about 3 years. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Great. Fantastic. Who's next?
I can go next. I'm Lydia. I am at Miami University Regionals campus in Ohio, not the one in Florida. That's fun. Unfortunately, I'm in Ohio. But this is my third year doing improv, my second year as president of Daisy and the Daves, Miami University Regional Theater Improv Group, which is a mouthful. I joined improv because I saw it on a screen and I said, I need friends in college. And I had no theater experience beforehand. I was a marching band kid in high school. And then our professor who did it stepped down and was like, would you like to be the president? And I took it and ran with it. And now I'm in an improv conference. So
here we are. Thank you so much, Lydia. Who's next?
I can or oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go for it, Marissa.
And sorry if my Wi-Fi goes in and out. It's a little suspicious today. My name's Marissa. I'm about to be a senior at Bard College in upstate New York. I am a club head for Brad Comedy, and I started doing like improv like my junior year of high school, but then we had to stop because of COVID. And then I got back into it like my first year at Bard. And since I've been the only consecutively, I was like the only first year in the club. They were like, okay, well, do you want to help run it? And I was like, why not? And now I'm here. So yes.
Fantastic. And Ivy, close us out.
My name is Ivy. I go to Ball State University, also with Cosmas. I am the PR executive on our board for Abso Lunacy. I've been doing improv since I was like 12, like in middle school. I did theater and we did improv along with it. But I didn't actually start getting really serious into it until I tried out for Abso my freshman year, because I also needed friends in college. And then I was actually introduced to the art of it and the the absolute lunacy of it all. So that's me. Mm-hmm. Yep, you see what I did there?
That's what you did there.
Fantastic. Well, hooray. We've all got a basic self-introduction. I'd ask you to tell us a little bit about your teams. You know, how deep into both improv and sketch are your teams? What style of improv or even styles of sketch do you do? That sort of stuff. And then we'll talk in a sec about rehearsals and shows and all that. But just a little bit of background for anyone. Let's go with the same order.
Okay. So Ivy and I, our team, about 2 years ago, we did sketch a lot more. We would kind of have like a set day for us to brainstorm ideas, write out scripts, and then actually film it. And then we had a couple of shows where it was like sketch shows. But this last year, we haven't done sketch as much. I don't think we did it much at all. And then we normally do short form in the fall and long form in the spring. So we're a bit of both. But in terms of sketch, I want to bring it back more this year because last year we didn't do it. I feel like it's really fun.
Great. Lydia, how about you?
So for my group, I would say we're kind of primarily sketch. We take a lot of inspiration from Second City. Our original like founder, Becca Eaton, is an alumni from Second City. So what we do is like during rehearsals, we will play a lot of improv games like Freeze and Survivor, and just kind of anything short for form we can find. We really haven't dabbled into long form improv at most like times. We focus on short form, and being kind of sketch heavy. It is like more just like silly and outrageous sketches, things that kind of like you have to suspend, your belief of reality for a second to really get into it. But then sometimes we do like kind of political like things that aren't like very, very political, but just like, poking fun at political stuff and things that are like current in the topics and everything. But that's how we do it mainly. So, yes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lydia. Marissa, how about the Brad team?
Yes. So this past year we've been kind of heavier in improv because we did our first year of like having auditions. So it was a lot of improv heavy stuff. But a lot of us also at the same time took a sketch class. It was like the first sketch class available at my school. So half of us took it. So after that, we were all like, let's start making sure we do more sketch stuff. And we have one of the days that's dedicated to improv, but the other day of the week is dedicated to sketch and like satirical writing. So just anything that's written. And we do one sketch show a semester. So we try to make sure we balance it as much as we can. This past year, we did a lot of improv heavy stuff. But we, for the most part, balance it pretty well.
Great. Fantastic. And Ivy, anything to add to the Ball State info?
Not really. He mostly said all of it. This year, we're definitely going to get way more back into it. We did not do any sketch last year, so it's time. It's time.
And for the improv you were doing, short form, long form, a little bit of both?
Oh, yeah. So we do both short form and long form. We start off the year usually doing a lot more short form to get our new members more acquainted with, improv rules and whatnot, and then introduce slowly long form until our second semester, which is what we mainly focus on is long form.
Very cool. Well, I guess this lets us talk a little bit about how to run this stuff. just from listening to this, it sounds like rehearsal schedules for all three teams is multiple times a week. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Let's stay on Ball State for a second. How often do you rehearse, and when you rehearse, how long do your rehearsals go?
So last year it was just 2 days a week, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, for about 2 hours each time. But this year, I think we're switching it to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with Friday just shorter practice, but Monday and Wednesday being the usual 2 hours.
3 times a week. That's wild. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Good on you. And when you do you say, like, is there a minimum time where you're like, oh, this is worthwhile?
What do you mean by a minimum time?
Like when you meet, I know when I was in school, there would be someone every week who was at least 5 minutes late, and then sometimes people have to leave. Like,
yeah. No, sometimes there's like we don't start like right away. Sometimes we wait 5 minutes, we wait for everyone to get there. But if it's like a day where we just want to jump right in, so we'll just jump right in. And if you walk in late, you walk in late.
And then once you get going, are you going for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, more?
We start with business, so just coming up and like talking about some things, and then we do it for like the full 2 hours. So I would say for about an hour to an hour and a half, like, the actual talk.
Great. Wonderful. And about how many people do you have coming to your practices and in your shows?
Right now, yeah, go ahead.
Just the amount of people that kind of make it on the team we have come to our practices. So like however many people we put on the team plus our existing members will come. That we have done like open practices where anybody can show up and learn fun improv games like short form and whatnot. And we do that a lot before, like, what's it called, auditions and stuff. And then we do workshops as well that other people can come to.
And obviously, you might not know how many people will be on the team this year, but sometimes improv groups are huge. Sometimes they're small. It's easy for me to say huge and small. The smallest improv group that I've run into at a school is 3 people, and the largest was 35.
Wow.
About how many people do you have on your team at Ball State?
Is it 7 right now?
It's 7. I think it's 7 right now. 7 or 8 right now, but like the highest I've seen was 14.
Yeah.
I think probably like the standard amount is like 12-ish, probably. It's the sweet spot.
Very cool. Awesome. And what about at Bard, Marissa?
Yeah, we have around also 12. I think sometimes we get a little lower around the second half of the year when it's time for like senior projects and finals. Usually the seniors are the ones who are like, I have to drop out for the rest of the year. So then we'll maybe have like 9 for maybe a couple of months, but 12 is like right where we usually want to be.
Great. And how many times a week are you meeting?
We meet mainly the improv group meets once a week. But Brad as like a club in general, we meet twice. So anyone who's interested in sketch or satirical writing, we also meet on I think the Thursday of the week. But everyone who's in the improv group has to come just once a week on Tuesdays. And then if we have a show, then it'll be twice a week, the week before.
Gotcha. And about how long are you meeting?
Just about 2 hours. Nothing too crazy.
Oh boy. We had some lunatics on my team. We would have at least 3 hours stuff. Crazy. How do college kids find the time? How do they find the time in Ohio, Lydia?
So well, a lot of people in my group, Miami Regionals, it's kind of geared towards like non-traditional college students that are like working jobs, like not like full-time jobs, but basically very close to full-time jobs. So our schedule fluctuates so very much each semester, but we try. I know last semester we did 3-day rehearsals, realized that was too much, 3 days a week rehearsals. So we're cutting it back to 2. We're going to try. We start at 6:30 and we're normally done by like 8:39. We've gone later before because everyone just likes hanging out with each other and we just like to be in a space where we can just like be idiots and run around, and then also like be productive, which I think is very fun. But yeah, so we're 2 days a week this semester from like 6:30 to around like 8:30 or 9.
And if you had to guess, like, total number of people who you would say would be like your consistent folks coming and rehearsing regularly, what would you say that is?
I think we have consistently 12. Not everyone is like actors per se, where they're like doing stuff, but we do have, we're spoiled. We have a light guy, and his name's Damien. He's the best light guy ever, because we do ours in a black box theater that has a light system. So we're very spoiled with that. And then we have two PAs that will do like behind the scenes stuff and help me out with stuff, but also they will, whenever they feel comfortable doing stuff, they'll join in on games and everything, because they're like, oh, I want to do it, but it's very intimidating. And I'm like, well, just come and hang out. We'll find something. That's fine. So
I love it. That's great. That brings us to something that's, I think, pretty interesting, especially for the sketch side of it, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit more on this. Do you draw a line on your teams between writers and actors and people doing both? Is that a thing for you?
Go ahead.
All you got it.
I think when we were doing sketch, we try to kind of involve everyone in every aspect. But I think it kind of got to a point where not everyone wanted to do every part. So like, not everyone wanted to write, not everyone wanted to act. Some people were just better at writing than others, and some people were just better in front of the camera. So it got to a point where we just kind of, whoever got casted, and whoever wanted to write, wrote.
Self-selecting setup. Great.
Yeah.
What else?
For mine, because we're more sketch focused, we have two head writers, which is me. Like, it falls under the role of president, and then it falls under the role of vice president, who kind of have like the final say with writing, because it can get kind of like, oh, well, I like this, but this other person doesn't. So we kind of just have like the final say with it, which doesn't happen all that often. But everyone is encouraged to write. It's not a requirement, but like if somebody brings a script in and they're like, oh, I kind of started this thing and I don't know where to take it from here, I'm like, okay, well, let's read it and then see like what happens on its own. And I know we had a script last semester where it was a baby that was like the CEO of a company, and it was like one of our teammates, Christopher, brought it in. He was like, here's a script and I don't know what to do with it. And it was a collaborative effort to kind of like bring it to where it ended up being. But we encourage everyone to write, and we encourage everyone to act. If they don't want to write, they don't have to, but it's normally a collaborative effort.
Very cool. I want to get into how that collaboration works, but I also want to hear about Bard. How's it work?
It's kind of a similar thing where it's just like whoever wants to do it does it. We try to have anyone who's going to write come to the writing meetings. We try to make that like a clearer rule, but then if someone can't come, but they shoot us like an email of like a sketch they want us to go over, we'll go over it in the meeting and then email them back the notes that we have. So we kind of, again, have like a collaboration of how we edit things. And then it's just like kind of, again, yeah, it kind of moves together with everyone. And that is like for individual sketches. And then when it's for like our semester show, we usually write the show together, or just whoever is usually coming to our writing meetings. And then we cast kind of within the group. We just kind of send out like a poll, and we're like, what character are you the most interested in playing based off of what we've written? And then sometimes people are really interested in writing or playing the characters that they've written the most for. So it just kind of like, it depends. But yeah, it's also a big collaboration.
That's great. Well, I mean, I feel like that lends right into how you run a writer's meeting.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how each of your teams does it. Marissa, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of, we're a very small group. So we're all kind of like friends in real life as well. So it's kind of like, there has to be a balance where we just kind of spitball all of our ideas. But since A lot of us are also friends, and then B, a lot of us have like ADHD. So it's like we get kind of out of control sometimes. And then usually like me or one of the other club heads, we have to be like, okay, well, now we have all these ideas. Let's actually like sit through and figure out which one can most likely be turned into like a 45 to 60-minute show. And yeah, it's really just like kind of Brad hangout time is usually what our writing sessions kind of look like. And then if someone isn't there, they usually just send something in, and then we usually the person who sends something in is going to be at the improv meeting, so we might meet for like 10 minutes after improv and just talk sketch. But yeah.
That's so cool. I've got a couple spin-off questions. Do you mind?
Yeah.
So when you say it sounds like the start of the meeting, like once you have whatever quorum you're gonna have, is everyone just pitching sketch ideas? Is that right?
The start of the meeting, well, since I've been a part of Brad, the start of our meetings have always started with satirical writing. So we go in and we have 7 minutes of writing headlines, and then because even if we're not going to spend most of the meeting working on the Bardvark or our like article, it still lets us kind of ease everyone into the being in the headset or the mindset to like make jokes. Because I've gone in and I've been like, where we take 7 minutes to do headlines, and I've written like haha poop, and then that's it, because I don't have any. I'm like, it's been a long day and like I had 3 classes and I'm like not in the headspace. But then after like hearing everyone's headlines and then talking about the jokes and then like just kind of getting in the space of making jokes, then if we are going to have a sketch heavy meeting, then we go into sketch, we pitch our ideas, we like email them to each other, and then we just talk about, if it is for the big show, we talk about just what makes the most sense for the space that we have and for the resources that we have. And then if it's for like individual videos on Instagram or TikTok or something, then we just talk about like how likely is it that we'll actually sit down and film this video with the other things that we're doing. But yeah.
Very cool. I want to spin off, but I also want to hear everybody else. Where are we going next? Let's say Ball State. What's a writing meeting look?
It does kind of like depend on the day to day. When we were doing a lot of our sketch stuff, we would just meet up on a day where we didn't have rehearsal and just kind of spitball ideas. The main focus was just to get the ideas out there and decide which sketches we actually wanted to do and which ones we were going to table for later. But it also gave us a large opportunity to like give each other like little jokes to include, or like a character development piece that like you wouldn't have thought of. You're like, oh, what if this character did this, or what if they said this? And it's a lot of that. And then when we would be done with it, the people who are like actually wanting to move forward with their sketch, and we're like, I guess we like chose like a couple of them, like we would pick and choose. And for those people, they would go and like fully write it or tweak it until it was time to do like either, recording it, like shooting it, or just practicing in our practice time.
And how did you know that? How did you know when it was like, sometimes because there's a deadline, and sometimes because the sketch feels complete. What did you have any like standard rules, or is it a case-by-case thing?
I would say it was like a little bit of both. Sometimes you feel like have your sketch ready by this Friday show, and then sometimes they would just be done with it and we just start shooting it, and then just be lucky enough to have it be done by that Friday show. So it was like a kind of like a case by case thing. Each sketch was different. Some sketches were in person, just performed live, and then some sketches, like Ivy was saying, they were recorded and actually played in front of the audience.
Very cool. Talk a little bit about process at Miami, Ohio, Lydia.
So kind of like what Marissa said, we are like a very close-knit community. I mean, there's only 12 of us, and we held auditions last year, and we didn't get that big of a turnout. Debating holding them again this semester, but we don't know yet. We have a meeting coming up on Sunday actually to talk about all of that. But for writing, it's like if somebody brings in a script and they're like, I don't know where to go with this, we read it kind of like a table read, And then from there, people will throw out ideas. But because we're all so close, I feel like it's easier to kind of bounce off each other since we all are viewed as writers. Like I know we have a couple people in our group that are just really, really good friends, and they'll write scripts together and bring them in, but then we'll read them out loud and we're like, that's too many fart jokes. That's just too many. And we just need to dial them back. And they're like, okay, fair enough. We get it. And, it just depends on like per rehearsal, if somebody is bringing in scripts or anything, or if I'm like, okay, well, this week we're going to focus on scripts because I have scripts that I like to bring in, and 4 other people have scripts, so like why not just finish the whole week on scripts. But for like, since we do a show a semester, we will have a set date to have scripts frozen by, which just means there's no more big changes to like the plot or the dialogue. Now if there's little tweaks we need to do, like scripts are living, breathing things, they're always going to be changing. But like if there's little things that need to change before like night of the show opening, okay, it changes. I mean, we're in an improv group, everybody needs to improv sometimes, so it's just like the main plot line and dialogue and like the points that need to be hit have to be frozen by a certain date. But it's just like when we're all in like a writing mode, it's very fun to just like sit around, and like I've taken up recording rehearsals because so much gets thrown around. I'm like, nobody's going to remember this. Like we all have ADHD. None of us are going to remember it. So let's just record it and then put it in a Google Drive. So yeah.
Very cool. That's a great way to use tech to help with your stuff. Are you meeting on Zoom or in person?
We meet in person. So we have a studio that it's a black box studio. It's probably about as big as yours was when you were telling us about it. It's not huge, but it's not very small. It's literally the perfect size for our group, and it's the perfect place to do it. So as long as Miami lets us use it, we're going to use it. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess a bunch of fun directions to go here. When I'm most tempted though to get into this aspect of writing. It sounds like all of your teams are doing collaborative writing in terms of getting ideas up and running. And I guess I'm curious about collaboration after a first draft, especially like how improv sort of informs that or doesn't if you keep stuff separated. What does that look like for your teams? How do you go from a first draft to a final?
I would say, yeah,
go ahead. No,
you got it.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, it's kind of just like that's what I was looking for. Like since everyone's friends, it's very just bounce the ideas off each other. And so when someone comes at you with a draft, that's their humor, and then they're looking at us to add our humor into it and just kind of like add to it. So we're not really changing much; we're just adding a little bit to it, and then just tweaking it. Because now we're trying to give them an idea of like, okay, this person can play this character, this person can play this character. So it's more of just like we already know that they're funny. So what can we add to their funny,
Absolutely. That's such a challenge, right? Because just like you said, it's their humor, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be an overlap for sure on almost everything. But I know I've got people who I've written with for years where like they'll have a thing and they really believe in it. I don't see it, but they're not wrong and I'm not wrong, right? Like I'm not wrong to not see it, and they're not wrong to have that idea. Have you run into anything like that where there's an unusual concept?
Well, actually, yeah, like once, but it wasn't an unusual concept. It was just, it ended up being turned into a video. One of our guys that was on our team, he was one of the people that graduated when I first joined. He had a skit, and it ended up being really funny. And I heard the concept for it, and I thought it was really weird. But it ended up being great. You remember Colby's the drive-through sandwich skit? Yeah. I remember he told me he was gonna make a skit about that, and I heard the concept. And I didn't help him with it because he was doing it with Sam. But he told me the concept, and I was like, "What?" But it was one of those things where his humor, he was able to like write it all out and like be confident in it, and so the final product was done really well. So it's like one of those moments where sometimes you might need input, and sometimes if you're just that confident, just go with it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with all of those things. I think that that's what we really focus on is like we trust each other's comedy, I guess, because we're all so close and because it's kind of like a family. We all have somewhat of an understanding of like how each other jokes and whatnot. But like with wacky, zany, big, weird ideas, that's like kind of our MO. Like we really, I mean, like our name is Abso Lunacy. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we love the wacky, we love the big, we love the weird. And a lot of it's just like, hey, just roll with it. And if you're able to roll with it, you're able to see like the genius behind it.
That's great. What a great way to put it. Similar story for you, Lydia?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's what my group has discovered is now that we have like a set group of people that are going to be like the actors, and then we have like, we know the personality of like the people who are like still kind of timid with it. It's easy to write, like when it comes to sketches, characters that I don't want to say revolve around just one person, but like if you have a certain person in mind. So for example, I have a character that I recently killed off and we had his funeral, but his name is Pop Pop, and he was just this like old man pop, and it was Pop Pop in his Glock. So it was, we had a professor in our group for a second who is no longer in our group for a bunch of reasons, but he was just like this old guy who just like would go off on tangents, and it was very easy to like center this character around him. And like Pop Pop, in the first skit we wrote, it was him and this younger guy named Brady. They like were at a park, and Pop Pop's like, I was there when JFK decided to do the Bay of Pigs invasion. I was there when he like did everything else. And I remember him, like I went to Harvard with him, and just like featuring him around this person that I already know so well, because we all are a very close group of people. Like we spend time outside of theater together and everything, having them together and like knowing like, okay, I'm writing this character and I know it's like for Al, like I can build this character around him. It made it so much easier. And like knowing like, okay, this is totally something like Al is just Pop Pop, like that's him. Nobody can play that character because that's him. But it does sometimes back us into a corner. But I do think, you know, we have a very diverse group of people now that like have diverse sense of humors and everything. It's a lot easier to kind of like open it up and be like, okay, well, this character I'm writing is very similar to like one of our players, Ren. Like they are just like very like loud and funny and just like all over the place. Or like if I need like somebody who's like a really good dancer, I know like my friend Duncan is a really good dancer. So kind of like writing to the strengths of my team has helped us a lot. But like the collaborative wise, like if we're reading a script and then like Ren is like, we need someone to yell, I'll do it. I'm like, okay, perfect. Or like Duncan's like, I need someone to dance. And I'm like, that's you, dude. And then I just add them in. So that's like the collaborative side is like just writing to their strengths of it. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what's the Brad situation, Marissa?
I think it depends on the type of sketch that we're writing. If we're writing something for a show or if we're writing something just for like our Instagram or something. I'd say a lot of us do a lot of sketch writing for fun on our own anyways. So we'll bring stuff in and then be like, this is what I have. I know that there have been times where like for me, a lot of the stuff that I have written has come from our improv rehearsals. I think the clearest example I can have is like this very chaotic improv like sketch or scene that came from some long form that we did that was called Corporate Horse, about a horse who was in corporate America. So then I wrote a sketch called Corporate Horse because of it. But so there's a lot of instances where if I can't think of anything just like off the brim, I'll do something based off of something that we've done. But we had before Brad, there was a sketch group called Old English who used to be here and who did a lot of just sketch heavy stuff that was very specific to Bard. And then one of the guys came back and taught the sketch class that I was in. And then he was like, you guys should really think about doing some stuff that's like Bard specific, since just is such a like a small school that runs so heavily on their own like inside jokes and niches. So now when it's like stuff that's for sketch shows, we do a lot of stuff that's like inside jokes about Bard and things like that. And then for stuff that's like on Instagram that we want to include more than just the Bard audience. We try to make it a lot broader. So yeah, it just kind of depends on what the atmosphere is in the room. If we're trying to do something that's like based off of something we did in improv, or like a joke that we've all been finding really funny, since again, because we're all like friends in real life. But then sometimes it's just like if there's something pressing happening in like politics or like in the real world, then we gotta sit down and write a satire, because it's like it is what needs to happen. So yeah, it's very collaborative though. It's usually a very fun process.
That's awesome. And let me just keep you talking a little bit about platforms for putting your stuff out, right?
Mhm.
Live shows, independent improv versus independent sketch versus doing both at the same show,
Yeah.
social media, etc. Talk about some of the platforms.
Yeah, I mean, we do independent sketch and independent improv. I have always been really interested in mixing the two, just because our sketch is usually just one long comedic play. And our short form sketches are usually just online, but I've been interested in doing like a variety show for a while. Especially because we just kind of started like a musical improv group within our group. So I've been interested in doing like, we've been talking about doing a variety show that's like Saturday Night Live-ish, that's like called Saturday Night Not Live. And especially because we have a lot of our friends who aren't in Brad but want to be a part of it in some way. So we're like, oh, okay, like finding like who the guest speaker would be to do like the monologue at the beginning, or yada yada yada. Or we have a lot of our friends who are very musically inclined, so if they want to collab with us, just trying to find ways to also get involved with other clubs on campus, especially the theater clubs on campus. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff that we're trying to do live, but then online, Instagram and TikTok, we are trying to get more short form sketches out there. So yeah.
Very cool. And can I get you to just elaborate a little bit more? You said that your live shows are kind of like plays.
Yeah,
does that
yeah.
mean that all the sketches take place in the same world or on the same theme?
Basically, I mean, our live shows for improv are just very much short form games, and then like maybe one or two long form sets. But for sketch, we all basically sit down for like a semester and write out a play together. The last one we had, the first year I was there, we did a show called Detective Collective, which was just like play about like a detective convention where we did like a bunch of parody stuff. We're big fans of parody. So I played like Shaggy. And I and then the last show that we just did was a show called E.T. Show Home, that was just based off of like, what if E.T. Came back to Earth and went to high school? And it was really stupid. And it was just an excuse for us to make like parody musical theater. So we just took a bunch of musical theater songs and just slightly shifted them to be ET related. But yeah, we just like sit down and we write an entire show, just based around one really kind of idiotic idea. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's so fun. Lydia, talk a little bit about your platforms and format and all of that.
So we're still a very new group. Last year was our first year independently, without like a professor leading us. So I just made us a website. I just made us a TikTok and an Instagram that we're still trying to figure out like how to go about that, and like how to get, kind of sketches out and stuff. But right now we do in-person shows, for the time being, until we can explore other aspects. But when we do our in-person shows, it's a mixture of games and sketches. So how we'll do it is we will do like, I think our last running order was, we will like start with like what we think is like the shortest but best attention grabber skit of the night. So like last semester we did one where we were making fun of Andrew Tate, and our target audience is people in college, and everybody was laughing very hard. But then right after that, we went into a game, and then it's like three scripts game, three scripts game. Like it just depends on like how many scripts we have. But in the running order, it's like a whole monster unto itself to figure out that I can't explain how we do it. We just end up doing it. It's like I black out for 12 hours and then I wake up and I'm like half dead handing it to them. But
Run orders are so complicated.
oh my God, I got into grad school and that was easier than making a running order. But I digress. It's like when we do our shows, we try to include as many games as we can, but 9 times out of 10 with our audience, we've realized they like the sketches more, and they like the games, like the big games that our audiences we've learned like during the in-person shows is typical freeze, Survivor, where it's like last man standing, where they have to complete the whole thing with just one person each time that gets voted off. And then another one is Sex with Me. That one always makes people laugh very hard. So we try to include, at least freeze every night, and then we might mix up the 2 games because we have 3 shows a semester, but it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday we do a show because we are so script heavy, but it's kind of how we make it work between the 2.
Fantastic. And Ball State, tell us about your platforms and your show structures and all of that fun stuff.
So we do a show every other Friday for the most part. So it ends up being about like 9 to 10 games that we end up playing, some short, some long, depending on what it is. But we're primarily like in the short form, long form. And then when it comes to sketch, like 2 years ago when we were doing it, we would have a sketch show like maybe once, like you probably squeeze it in like once a month or once every other, something like that. And then Ivy handles like the social media side, so I'll let her take it away.
So we are on like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. We mostly use Instagram and TikTok. We got like, a increased amount of like following last year on like our TikTok specifically, which was really, really cool. And our Instagram as well. We just like will post on the Instagram, mostly we just post like posters for our shows. Like we make a poster for every single show. It'll have like a certain theme or like just like a cutesy little funny poster, and I Photoshop everybody's faces onto weird stuff. And then for our TikTok, it's mostly short form video content that's just like silly, fun, like doesn't necessarily have anything to do with improv, but it's just like any sort of TikTok video that you would find on your For You page. We had one that went kind of viral where it was just one of us spitting water and the other person sucking it up. And it got 100.8 thousand likes, I think. Yeah. Which was definitely cool. And then we ended up getting a little award from the school for our PR, which was awesome. But for this coming year, I would really like to utilize YouTube a lot more since we're going to be doing a lot more sketch. We can do the sketch, short form content on TikTok and Instagram as well, and like previews and whatnot for those, so then we can get more traffic to our YouTube. But as for the last like couple years, it's pretty much just been Instagram and TikTok.
Very cool.
Like every once in a while, we'll put one of our shows on YouTube, but like not frequently.
Like a full-length show?
Full show. Yeah.
We have, I think, 3 that were like, we have like teachers and stuff that have been willing to come out and do live streams with our like actual equipment. So we have 2 of those that are live streamed and like recorded. And then we have a couple of like, parents sitting in the audience recording the whole thing, and they upload it to YouTube as well. So we've got like a couple different shows on there that have been live streamed and recorded and then just uploaded.
I know for my team, we definitely use YouTube to put stuff out, and also kind of as a passive archive where you can make those like just record your shows and put them up as a private video so that your team can watch it and it's not taking up space on someone's hard drive and phone.
Hey, Murph, we have a question from the audience, and I just want to
fantastic.
I just wanted to remind everyone here that we're drawing to the close of the hour session, and we don't need to go a full hour. So like, you let me know when you're ready, and I'll. A lot of the people in the audience have been asking about the light piano music I was playing up top of the video. They want to hear that music again, so I'm ready to play it. You just let me know when to play it, and I'll hit play. But here's the question. I think this is a big question. I don't know how everyone's going to deal with it. And I think I'm going to modify it just a little bit. The question is, what do you do? How do you recover when you write a bad sketch? And I think, just because I would imagine what you do when you write a bad sketch is you throw it away. But my question is a little bit farther than that. What do you do when you write a bad sketch, didn't know it was a bad sketch, perform it, and then find out it was a bad sketch?
I can answer this one pretty quickly. My first show independently, I got independently with me and Lauren as my vice president running it. We got some really harsh feedback from someone we looked up to a lot about all of the skits, which we thought, were so funny. Like, I'd hurt myself laughing. The only thing I can say I did was I just cried about it for a while. Cried about it, thought about quitting. Then I said, I gotta prove people wrong. And then just kind of went from there. But with the scripts that were in that first show, not even if we use them again, I just personally, as someone who kind of runs on spite, I have edited them and changed things up, and I'll just reread it and I'm like, it's funny now. I don't care what anyone says, it's funny. Just as a personal thing for myself. Because it does feel like crap when you bring something and you're like, here is my baby bird that I'm giving everyone, and then they just smash it, and it's kind of one of the worst feelings. But I just allow yourself to be really upset about it and then be like, okay, I gotta prove them wrong. It's the best thing I did. So
something in addition to that as well. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Keep going over each other here. I think that my biggest advice when you bomb really hard is to just keep doing it. It's going to happen. There's going to be shows in improv shows where you don't do well, or stand-up sets that don't hit, and sketches that people don't find funny. But that should all be fuel to continue to, keep teaching yourself the art, the craft, and continue to just keep being creative and keep it is going to happen. And that is the worst part of it all. That is just super annoying and upsetting. And I've had many shows where I come off and I'm like, man, I bombed. But you're not going to bomb every single time, and you're going to get better as long as you continue to do it. So that's all I would say on that.
And when all else fails, make yourself laugh. That's all I had to say. That's all I had to say. When all else fails, make yourself laugh.
And I would also add that it also depends on why it's bad. Because I mean, for my group, I'd say it happens less with sketch because it just goes through so many people, and more with improv. If someone, or usually if one person bombs on stage, we all kind of bomb. And if we bomb just during long form or something, afterwards, if it's just because we didn't really know what to do, or we usually just talk about it afterwards to figure out why it didn't end up feeling good. And that usually depends on if it was because we didn't establish something and we didn't listen to each other enough. But it's a completely different situation if it's the why it wasn't funny is because it was offensive, or someone was targeted at a specific group. So it's listening to feedback is awesome, because it's also good to figure out is this punch down humor that was on stage, or did I write something that was kind of punched down, or with stand up, is that what I was going for, or was it not funny simply because it was just wasn't clear, or there wasn't any communication happening on stage. So I think that's usually the first thing I try to do, is figure out what about it wasn't funny, and was it something that I was hurtful, or was it something that genuinely just I need to go back into the writing room and figure out how to make this clearer.
If I can go off, Marissa, sorry.
Oh, please, yes.
about like the punch down humor. The biggest piece of advice I ever got was to always punch up, like always make fun of the people that are above you. Like making fun of the people below you is never going to go good, and it makes you, pardon my French, it makes you look like an asshole. And when it comes to like, I feel like at least in my group, we do a lot of sketches that are political and like talking about current topics, I think is the better way to say it. So it's a very fine line of like, okay, because I live in like we're all college students, so like a lot of us are very like one way on the political spectrum, and then when you look at like Ohio, that's completely other way of a political spectrum. So it's like a very fine line of like, okay, is this going to be funny to the majority, or is it going to be funny to just us? And like, yes, it's important to make yourself laugh. It's so important to like have fun, because if you're not having fun up on stage with your group, nobody's going to laugh and think it's actually fun. But I know part of the reason like our show the first semester didn't do as well as we thought it was going to be is because we didn't find out who our target audience was. Like knowing your audience is such an important thing, and like knowing if I'm trying to make a 22-year-old laugh and a 60-year-old woman in the audience isn't laughing, I'm doing okay. Like they're not my target audience. It would be great if I have like a sketch or game included that makes them giggle, but like if they're not like kneeling over like completely like dying of laughter, I'm not probably going to lose as much sleep as if like a 20-year-old were to come up to me and be like, I hated your show. I'd be like, oh, okay. Or like my younger sister, she's 14, if she were to come up to me and be like, I hated it, I'd be like, that really hurt my feelings. But like knowing your target audience and like knowing you're not going to be able to make everyone happy is like one of the things that like has made me be like, okay, I'm cool. I've released the anxiety of making everyone laugh.
Hey, everyone, we got one more comment just to sort of bounce off of all of you. And then I think we're going to have to end pretty soon after that. So this is like a lightning round from Aaron Bullitt. He mentions that for him, it's very helpful to record his sketches and also his stand-up to see how it went, and then use that as a sort of self-feedback loop. How about you guys? Have you had any luck with that? Or have you ever thought about trying that?
Yeah. I think recording sketches, yes. Definitely recording stand-up. Especially because I'm just now starting to dabble in stand-up, and I'm like, I need to know, I black out. Like I need to know what I did because I don't always know.
Yeah, that's such a good point about blacking out while you do something. Because when we do a sketch or a performance or stand up, whatever it is, it's almost like, I don't know, like the funny ghost takes over. Whatever's inside you just kind of takes over, and you just go blind. And then you come out of the show and you're like, wait, what the hell just happened? So like trying to remember things, it's so much easier if you record it. I feel like it's gonna help you out in the long run. So I feel like I did stand up like one time and I didn't record it, and I don't remember how it went. And now I think back and I'm like, dang, I wish I recorded that.
Yeah, I agree. I also black out during the shows. So I'm like, I don't know what happened, but like I heard people laughing at some point. So
I can't imagine that there would ever be a better blackout line for this panel conversation than I sometimes black out during shows. So we'll leave it there. And I do thank everyone for participating. Let's hear it for our moderator, Murph McHugh. Let's hear it for Cosmas, Lydia, Ivy, Marissa. Fantastic, everyone. And don't forget, I'm going to open the breakout room now. And for everyone else who's here, I'd like to remind you that we have 2 more great panel discussions coming up. Hold on. Music, while wonderful. I'm sorry. Hold on. So I would like to remind everyone that later today at 6 p.m. and at 8 p.m. Eastern time, both, we're going to have 2 more great panel discussions, one on rehearsals and one on shows. I hope that you'll all consider coming back to check those out and to support the wonderful improv comedians who are going to be running those sessions. And it's the same link as the one you used today. So don't throw that link away. Ivy, jump into the breakout room. All right, bye, everyone. Here's the piano music.